All right, so today's topic is ACP. I'm sure all of us are really excited to talk about ACP again, but as we now know, it's a non-funded program, so a little bit about kind of like what's next or what can we do to help still be an edge or provide some benefits. So recently I was at the NTCA Marketing and Sales Conference, and I was actually able to do a series of roundtable discussions with some of the peers at the meeting. The ACP and the discount program really seemed to be a hot topic. So I thought as we kicked off this webinar series, it would be a really good topic to talk about. There seemed to be lots of opinions. There were many companies that kind of looking at some different options to start a program. So I thought it would be great to share what Nex-Tech has actually done to kind of launch or extend our program. So that's what we're here to talk about today. I'm going to ask Aubrey. She's going to help me a little bit. We have a couple polls throughout the presentation that I'm going to do today, and I'm actually going to ask her to launch the first poll if she would, and I'll give it just a minute for everybody to reply, and then I'll start. Maybe.
Can you guys see that question?
No, we cannot. I cannot anyway.
I can.
I can see it.
Oh, great. Fantastic. Okay,
it's just
good.
you.
Then it's just me that can't see it.
The question is, did your company participate in the ACP program? You can select yes or no. We've got 8 responses, and it looks like 100% so far are yes.
Awesome. Okay, very good. So that kind of gives me a little bit of understanding of the room and to understand what people are doing. So probably most of you understand the history of ACP if 100% have actually were participants. So, you know, I hate to, we're 4 years after the COVID pandemic. I hate to mention that word, but that's really what started ACP, to be quite honest. It's really a reaction to the pandemic, people being at home, needing good, affordable internet connectivity. So in December of 2021, the FCC launched the ACP plan. So it originally, the benefit was really guaranteed to be through March of 2022, and then it extended. So really at about mid last year in August, there were reports that the program probably was going to run out of money and probably would end by 2024. So then early this year in January, there was an official announcement made by the FCC that the program would end. And the program is now technically ended. So those of you, if you were all in the program, you kind of knew that stair-stepped approach that we had to send out the notifications and the letters and the notifications to those customers on that program that it was going to end. So it officially is ended, and it was actually funded through half of May. So there's kind of where we're at today. So next step is to really kind of look at the future of ACP and what we could be talking about. So I think you probably all know, you've probably been following all the industry posts and the comments and all the things that are on social, and there is no crystal ball, you know, to really know what's going to happen in the future with ACP or some kind of a funding mechanism. But I think the big thing to really take a look at, you know, is we had a program out there that was funding 23 million Americans, and those customers, if their broadband company hasn't stepped up and done some kind of additional funding or program for them, they were really left without funding. So that could be a big gap for customers not to be able to afford some kind of broadband connectivity if they were relying on that credit every month. So again, it's really unknown at this point. I think there's a lot of chatter out there that because of this being an election year, that's probably holding up a lot of the decision making in Washington at this point. So I think we here at Nex-Tech and many in the industry are hopeful that hopefully after November or around the first part of 2025 that we will hopefully see some kind of change and implementation of a true program. There's also lots of talk out there. Jimmy, our CEO, actually talked on a panel about a month ago. But there's a lot of the talk out there that, you know, the long term that ACP or whatever the program is going to be called may actually be funded through the USF program. And there's also talk about for years there's been talk about the Lifeline program ending and possibly even a merger of the Lifeline and the ACP program. So it's more of a standardized discount or one standardized plan. So hopefully in the next few months, we can get some kind of true answer going forward in the plan that we'll have for the future. So I want to talk a little bit about kind of what Nex-Tech strategy was and what we did here internally. So we made the decision early on after we found out that the plan was going to end in May, that we were for sure going to fund the remainder of May. So we did a nice press release, kind of made a little bit of a statement about it, that we were going to extend this program for those customers and fund that half of May. That was a kind of a twofold decision. One, we thought it was a bad decision to have that a half a month for a customer perspective. It was kind of bad, but really internally it was even a challenge for us to try to put that discount in for a half a month and reinstate the normal rate. It was just easier for us really to keep the discount for the entire month. So that's what we did. And through that time when we actually found out that the program was going to end, really that deciding factor internally, kind of having a lot of internal debates, whether we were going to continue some kind of a program, what that program is going to look like, and if we would launch that or try to do it right at the end or when we would actually do that. Probably one of our big deciding factors, was really looking at the customer themselves and really, do we want to have this impact to these customers that may not be able to afford their broadband? So that was a big deciding factor for us. The other one, and as individual companies, you guys will have to make your decision on this, kind of the impact, the revenue impact. For us, we're a fairly large company. Only about less than 1% of our customers actually were on the program. So by us taking the impact of absorbing the discount on a monthly basis, it wasn't a huge impact to it. But I do think that if you're a company that has a high percent of ACP customers, getting a discount, that's something you'd need to take into account before making that decision. So it wasn't a huge impact to us. So what we ultimately decided to do, and I'll explain this as I kind of walk you through the process, what we did, but we are actually funding that discount through our July billing for those customers. And I'll give you more detail as we go through and kind of the ins and outs and how we put the program together. Aubrey, if you don't mind launching the second poll as I transition to the next slide.
It is launched. Question number one is your company currently providing some type of internet discount program? And then there's a second question if you answer yes.
And if you would help me by giving a recap since I'm not seeing the poll, I'd appreciate it.
Yep, I can do that.
Awesome, thank you.
See here. We've got 4 responses so far. And 50-50 for the first question.
Okay.
We've got up to 5 responses were 60% yes.
Okay.
And then for the second question, we're at about 50% said their discount was less than 30, and the other 50% said $30 exactly. No one is more than $30 yet.
Okay, awesome. That's great feedback.
Yep.
So I just kind of wanted to get a feel out there for what companies were doing if they had or had not decided to continue that plan, and kind of, if they decided to kind of mimic the ACP discount of $30, or just, so it's interesting to see that some people have actually made the decision to offer less, which is interesting. So I'll talk a little bit about our plan. We kept it very simple. It's just called the Nex-Tech Internet Discount Program. So these are a few kind of the parameters of our plan as we launched it. This plan is available to current and new customers, and I'll define current and or new. Basically what I'm saying is a customer who had been on ACP, we're continuing it for them, or if there are existing customers that were not on the ACP program but want to apply for our new internet discount, they can do that. That is available to them. So we opted to actually keep the discount exactly the same as what ACP had actually been. So we are continuing the $30 discount. And of course, ACP also had the $75 tribal discount. We don't have any tribal areas. So we're just in the perspective of doing the $30. So this is an internal plan only, administered by Nex-Tech. I will tell you kind of a couple instances. We have got some questions on this specifically when we rolled out the plan specifically for customers who had been on ACP and kind of our new parameters or our new plan. Not so much questioning from customers themselves, but we have got some questions specifically from, I'm going to say, directors or managers of like housing authorities or properties like that have clients that have been on the program before, kind of wondering why we made the decisions of the qualifiers that we did. So you may get some questions that way, may or may not, but it is one thing that we have seen as we launch this. So we try to keep our plan as simple as possible and somewhat mimic the ACP program as well too. So we actually have 4 qualifiers for our plan: SNAP, which is basically the food program, Medicaid, Section 8 housing, and then we basically used an income guideline of 135% or lower of the poverty income level. If you're wondering maybe why we did that, so the 135% does not match the ACP. They basically use 200% of the poverty income level. But with some of the talk that's going on in the industry, as I said prior to, there may be thinking about possibly merging the Lifeline in this program together if they put out a new plan. So the thought was, by using the Lifeline standards, maybe they would adopt that as a standard, and going forward, these customers would be under that same guideline. Not saying it is going to happen that way, but that was the decision we made because we felt like that it may fall more in line with that going forward. I won't read through all those requirements there, but just kind of on the low end of the spectrum, that calculates to be a little bit over $20,000 for a one household, and then up to about $71,000 for an 8-person household. So along with that same thing, kind of on those qualifiers, the why behind some of those, and I'll get into this a little more as well, but we wanted to try to keep the plan as simple as possible. We did not want to be collecting any kind of personal information that we had to store or put in the billing system. So basically, these were like simple verification cards that we know that by them having the card in hand, we can verify that they have and are eligible. We can mark that on the form and move forward without having to collect a lot of data. What we're doing on the income level, the customer simply has to show an income tax return or a Social Security statement. Again, we're not collecting that data. We're just having the frontline team verify that they are within those guidelines and marking it on the application form. So one of our other parameters of this program is that it does have to be in person. Customer needs to come in person to the store. Again, we have 16 retail locations, which makes it a little bit easier for people to find a store, but it just makes the maintenance of it a little bit easier for us because we can actually verify in person that the person is really who they are. Because you all have heard the stories over the years with Lifeline and people trying to take advantage of the system. We wanted to make it as easy as possible without having a lot of hurdles to jump through. The customer must also agree to email billing and our auto payment system. That's actually a new requirement that we implemented at the start of 2023 for all of our new customers. So again, if they were going to be on this program, if they're an existing customer that wasn't on like email or auto payment, they did have to convert to those 2 options to be on the system. Again, the staff visually verifies that the form is completed, and we just need to make sure that all of the documentation matches. So the account holder actually has to be the person applying for the discount, and then that all has to match the ID of the person and also match, say, for example, the applicant on the Section 8 housing letter. We just want to ensure that all of that matches so the discount is actually truly getting applied to the correct person's account. All right, so a couple little variations between that we have. There's a couple rules for new customers versus existing customers. So again, when I define a new customer, that means an existing Nex-Tech broadband customer that had not been an ACP. So again, we offer promotions like many of you probably do throughout the year. So we do have a parameter in there. If you're a customer that has a promotion on your account, you can't have the promotional discount and also this internet discount. So what we've been doing, let's say your promotion ends August 1st, the credit for your discount would end on August 1st, and we would then start the internet discount the prior month, so in September. The also other stipulation that we made is that the discount is only available on our gig plan. So we actually made a pretty significant change at the beginning of this year, where we are only marketing and advertising one plan in our fiber areas for residential customers, and that's 1 gig. There is a transition plan for existing customers, and that's why we made this restriction. So if they're on a lower tier plan and want to transition to the internet discount plan, they do have to transition up to the gig plan to be eligible for it. The one exception would be customers in our rural areas where we offer wireless service. So the plan would be available to those if they can't get fiber in their area. Just a reminder, if you guys do have questions, put them out in the Q&A. We'll take questions at the end. We'll go through those, and then we'll open it up for Q&A at the end as well. So again, existing ACP customers, that they were on the plan before and kind of transitioned through, they were notified via letter or email, and they basically had until July 22nd to apply for the new program into that plan. And if they did not qualify or did not want to go on to the new plan, basically their credits are ending at the end of July. So starting August 1st, they'd be on the regular rate plan. All right, so again, tried to keep the form very simple. This is actually a screenshot of what the enrollment form that we have looks like. I don't think I need to go into all the significant detail on it. It's pretty straightforward: name, account number, address, and then basically verifying kind of the method that they are applying to the program. How we're handling this, like I said, the customer has to walk in to do it. So then the completed form is actually saved on the account, so we have it for future reference. We do have a restriction on there that if there is some kind of a new plan adopted by the FCC or another statewide program of some type, that we will end this program. And the other thing that we put into the stipulations of this is that we will recertify each year. Very similar if you've been like in Lifeline before, how you had to recertify the customers. We've opted to do it in May. We're very hopeful that we don't have to recertify, that there's a new program in place by that time, but we have put that certification kind of verbiage in that document, so they're aware that they will have to show that proof again the next year to continue to receive the discount. All right, so just kind of a wrap up. If you are looking at implementing a new plan, a discount, if you haven't implemented one already, I would recommend keeping it simple. Don't do multiple layers of discounts. And my suggestion is if you have many different internet plans, look at maybe limiting the discount to 1 or 2, maybe mid or higher tier plans, just to try to, if you're going to give a $30 discount, probably don't give that on a low end plan, because you'll be making no revenue on that account specifically. Don't collect personal information. Again, if you can try to find a qualifying way to get them on that where you're not actually taking copies of cards or verification letters, keep it simple. I would recommend putting some kind of a recertification in place, so you are verifying that those customers are still eligible. Make sure you can track it. Simply put a USP or some kind of a specific charge or credit on the account, so you can track the discount, track how much you're spending on the discount, and the customers themselves. And also be sure you give yourselves an exit strategy like I recommended, like we have a line item on there. If there's another plan that becomes available, that we will discontinue this plan. All right. I want to thank you, everybody. Just as a quick wrap up before we take questions, please reach out to your account leads if you want some recommendations or guidelines or some help implementing a plan. If you don't have one, we would be happy to help.